it's one thing for candidate Obama. That's one thing. Gets people upset in right-wing circles. It's another thing, now he's the president of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know for a fact if there were threats on the president's life during this period?
In fact, we discovered numerous threats that we refer to the U.S. Secret Service during this time. It started proliferating so much that the Secret Service had to stand up its own unit just to keep up with all these new threats that were coming in. I've seen in some of the news reporting that there were more threats against President Obama than like the previous 4 presidents combined.
Wow. So they were alerted because of these threats that were direct. They protect the president. That's their job. They do a sensational job as far as I'm concerned. And at the same time, these groups are not going to give up. And they didn't disappear this time.
Right.
So figure President Obama is no longer the president of the United States. They're going to go home. They're emboldened.
Well,
they're enabled. Am I too strong?
No, you're not. In fact, what's happening right now goes against all of the trends that I've seen in the 25 years now that I've been looking at this issue. Normally, right-wing extremists, we're talking white supremacists, militias, sovereign citizens, they increase and become more active under Democratic administrations because they're fearful that their guns are going to be taken away or that there'll be some sort of gun laws passed. Or, in the case of Barack Obama, they had their worst nightmare confirmed in the fact that we had an African American in the White House. Typically, during Republican administrations, we see a dial back, but that has not been the case in 2017.
In fact, what we've seen is
continued heightened activity, continued violence, continued recruiting going on, and it has a lot to do with the 2016 election, with the rhetoric that was used during the campaign. Some of the things that candidate Trump talked about from his platform, such as building a border wall, mass deportations,
right down their alley,
mass deportations of illegal immigrants.
Right.
Not allowing certain people to enter the country with travel bans. Yeah. These were things I read about on white nationalist websites 10 years ago.
But if
now they're being spoken from a political platform.
If the government is complicit and doesn't do anything because certain members of Congress feel that it's gone too far, I am not in any way implying that members of Congress, certain members of Congress, want this violence to go on. Mm-hmm. But they certainly have turned a deaf ear to what the heck is happening. I mean, you and I are not making up these situations where there has been violence. You didn't create Timothy McVeigh. I hope I didn't create Timothy McVeigh. And the other Timothy McVeighs that before that and after that have been found to try to destroy this government or many parts of this government. Now, while the people are supreme, the government is needed to keep law and order here in this country. And I'm very suspect of people who keep on tearing down the government, say it has no place in our society, anti-government. Whatever you say about the government is wrong. We don't need a government, or we minimize the effect, except when Hurricane Harvey comes calling. Then all of a sudden, we need the government. In fact, we need the government unlike we had when we had our storm in New Jersey of Sandy, when they turned their backs on us. The very people who are part of this right-wing junk that's out there, which I call them the enablers. I think that they enable these people to feel stronger, tougher, and going to do whatever the heck they want.
Yeah, the one thing that needs to be realized by politicians is, you need to understand the effect and the impact your words have on the mentally ill and people that are embracing fringe ideologies and extremists.
Speak, my friend.
Yeah, so you need to be aware of that. You're playing with fire. When you say these things from the campaign trail to try to, get a base of support so you can get the votes to win the election, you're playing with fire. It's very dangerous.
You play with anger. You play with fear.
Paranoia.
You play with the anger of somebody coming in that doesn't look like you, taking a job, and that's been disproven so many times. You play with your heartfelt resentment of anybody getting ahead of you. particularly if they don't look like you or don't cook their foods like you. You play on that, you keep on lighting matches, they're bound to go off. I personally think that if we would have done what you had recommended and suggested back in 2009, well, before that, but it was actually, we did away with it in 2009, and the organization that put it together, we could have prevented a lot of things from happening. Now, how do you prevent things from happening? You don't prevent things from happening by ignoring them.